Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Certainly having yourselves a fantastic start to that Friday. It is Friday, so I imagine most of us are feeling pretty well this morning. But if not, I certainly hope your day gets much better, and hope you guys end up having a great start to your weekend. I got you a pretty big update this morning. We're going to talk about, as we always do in these morning videos, what's going to happen weather-wise for the lower 48. But I can tell you, most of this video, talking about the entire, really, second half of the video, is going to be talking about the tropics. We're going to give you a pretty in-depth update on the tropics. Now, I just want to let you guys know I'm making this video before 6 a.m. Eastern time, so we could have later updates from the National Hurricane Center. It's getting pretty active out there, so each update could obviously be different than the last, right? So I'm going to give you the latest information as of right now. Luckily, or this video would be 50 minutes long, it's not very active in the homeland right now, at least for today. So there's no big time severe weather events. There's no crazy flooding to talk about right now. So we're going to skim through the lower 48 pretty quickly. But I don't want to, of course, there's a lot of people who tune in every morning because they want what's going to happen weather-wise for this specific day, and that's what we do on this channel. So I don't want to leave you guys hanging for that, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to skim through the lower 48 forecast pretty quickly, but still, you guys will know what's going to happen in your neck of the woods for sure. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It's getting to that time of the year, guys, where we start doubling up on the videos daily. Certainly that's what we do different on this channel. We try to keep you guys up to date with the latest and greatest information because it changes every 12 hours. I mean, it changes every hour, but so that's what we try to do different on this channel. So I'm going to try to pump out a video tonight too and give you the latest information. Definitely stay tuned for that if you're interested. If you folks got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. And just want to quickly note, guys, not everybody wants to hear a 2 to 3 minute intro like I do. That just helps me to get going with these videos. It really just kind of lights the fire, and then the rest of the flow just works the rest of the video. That's why I do it, and keep things personal in here. So make sure you take advantage of these timestamps in these videos. You can skip this, and I'm not going to be offended whatsoever. And I'm going to have timestamps. It normally takes about 5 to 10 minutes after I drop the video, and then timestamps will be up for you folks to utilize. Definitely utilize them. All right, let's get rolling this morning. Let's take a look at water vapor loop like we always do. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to try to explain this really the best way we can. Make sure that's working, and it is, so we're good to go. So we got a trough digging down into the western U.S., just like this. There is a surface boundary right into here, allowing for basically this entire region to be relatively dry. Now, it's not as dry as it's been the last few days, but I can tell you, if you're in the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, basically, this entire region right into here, you're waking up to some nice conditions. I mean, downright chilly in certain areas. So you got this trough right in here digging down. You got this upper level low right in here. This is creating a lot of weather this morning in southern New England. I would argue that area is a little bit further pointing to the east, but this is going to create some storms over the next several hours for the southern New England, even a little bit of a tornado threat. At the same time, you got a tall ridge beginning to build into this region. So troughing goes down like this. Ridging is building up like this. So everybody along this ridge, and I would argue it's building a little bit taller than this, it's going to be hot. There's not going to be much moisture. And it's going to be hot. So record-breaking heat, possible all the way up into the Dakotas, into Montana, definitely Texas. There will be widespread 110-degree readings in Texas today. One of the hottest days of the summer, if not the hottest. So it's brutal all the way up through the high plains. The heat will be pumping. And then you see this little spin out here to the west. This is our upper level low, upper trough, if you will. So if you look down here at the bottom of your screen, you're seeing some wider colors. That is Hilary coming up, and it's about to threaten and definitely impact Baja California, which is right here. So this upper level low is going to help to yank Hilary further north and affect the southwest. Flooding rains, high winds. So there's a lot going on, but in general, you see the theme. Dip in the jet, rise the ridge, and then another dip in the jet right here. So this ridge will continue to flex and move eastward in time. I hope all that makes sense. I know it's a lot of drawing, but I love, excuse me, I love for you guys to really understand what's going on out there. All right, so if you look on radar, what's going on right now, we'll zoom in, and here we go. We got severe thunderstorm warnings. This is different from when I had it up this morning, was preparing it, and this makes sense. You're dealing with some severe weather in Connecticut right now as I speak. Heads up, Boston, if you're tuning in and it's like 12 o'clock, 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and you live in southern New England, chances are this is already cleared out. But Boston's going to probably experience some strong to severe storms, at least potential, over the next few hours. But really, this is the worst of the weather. Along this line, this will continue to try to strengthen this morning, and there will be a tornado threat with this. I mean, this is as of around 7 a.m. Eastern time, so this will be totally different by the time some of you folks watch this. But this is our energy associated with the upper trough pulling through the northeast. Trying to definitely breathe a little bit in these videos because this is going to be a long one. We got to save the energy for the update on the tropics for sure. You already got moisture in Arizona this morning. This is not associated with Hilary. So you're already dealing with rain. You even got a flood threat in Arizona today. So, I mean, you're already dealing with it. So you already got rain today, rain tomorrow, and then the moisture pool from Hilary comes up from the north, from the south, and rises to the north and to the southwest, and this is going to enhance the flooding threat. But you're already dealing with light to moderate rain in Arizona, even some rain in Southern California right now. So this is kind of the main areas that's going on right now as far as what's falling this morning. Let's take a look at this. The Storm Prediction Center. You got a marginal risk up here in Montana, level 1 out of 5. Marginal risk for the desert Southwest, level 1 out of 5. And then you got a marginal risk, and this is really what's going on right now. Level 1 out of 5 in the northeast, southern New England, just all of New England pretty much. So we got to watch for some severe weather in both of these areas, all three of these areas out here. There will be some strong to severe storms out there today. There is right now in southern New England. The tornado threat with this, there is a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. And guys, this is really for right now. Going all the way through, I would say just the first half of the day. I mean, you're going to probably have a risk of some showers and storms in the northeast later this afternoon, but I'd really say this is driven off what's going on right now. And then the wind threat, just your typical 5% risk, hail threat, 5% risk up here in the northeast. We keep rolling. We look at the excessive rainfall outlook. There's just your standard marginal risk just with any kind of typical summer kind of storms. But I like to show this when there's a slight risk or higher, and there is in the desert Southwest. And this is really going to become the big storyline of the weather world here in the short term over the next few days with the approaching of Hilary riding up from the south. And it's definitely going to bring a lot of crazy weather for the Southwest. And we're going to talk about that in detail towards the end of the video. So stay tuned if you're tuning in from California, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, whatever it may be. There is a slight risk. That means there's at least a 15% risk of excessive rainfall being met in this yellow area. So we gotta watch out for this. This is just day one. It's gonna get worse as we move in over the next few days, and then Hilary comes and really enhances everything as far as the flooding risk. As we move forward, we look at watches, warnings, advisories. Flood watch is already up. Okay, this will stay up over the next few days. Flood watch is already dominating the Southwest areas of Nevada, southern Utah, all of western Arizona, southern California. Red flag warnings up here for the northern portions of the Rockies starting to get dry. You got heat advisories that basically ride all the way up the high plains. Somebody will try to flirt with 110 degrees in the Dakotas today. I'll talk about that here in a second. Excessive heat watches up for all of Missouri, portions of Illinois, the southern half of Iowa, areas of Nebraska, and Kansas. This is ahead of where this ridge will flex into this area, and then heat will really increase into this area over the next couple days. Excessive heat warnings in this purple color. Extremely hot conditions in Texas today. Okay, the humidity will drop, the dew points will lower, which will allow for temperatures to actually rise, the air temperature. So you're going to get very hot into Texas and to southern Oklahoma today. It's going to be very hot into these regions for sure. Heat advisories, very hot in these regions too. And even if you don't even have, if you're in this area right here and you don't have any kind of heat advisory, excessive heat warning, anything like that, that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it's not going to get hot in these regions. It definitely still is for sure. Okay, moving forward, we take a look at the Southeast today. And this is the part we're going to probably skim through. The Southeast, most of everybody in this is going to be quiet. The only area that's going to just see another day of a lot of shower and storm activity is Florida. We got a stalled boundary that's just kind of draped over areas of North Florida, areas of Georgia. extreme southern parts of Georgia. And everybody along and south of this boundary is just going to stay extremely humid. The atmosphere will stay moist, and you're just going to get your standard showers and storms. They're just going to really just cruise along the peninsula of Florida, especially western Florida. A lot of tropical downpours, stormy conditions, a lot of rain could fall down here. Everybody else up here in this region, it's quiet. I mean, any other state that you see, pretty quiet conditions. You're dominated by drier air, not super dry air, but drier air. The atmosphere is stabilized, and you're not going to deal with any storms today. But Florida, you could certainly get that moist flow, and this is the rainfall expected between now and the next 24 hours from the National Weather Service. The west coast of Florida, half inch, quarter inch to half inch to an inch of rain is possible. Tampa Bay, Clearwater region could be definitely a rainy day for you folks. Southern peninsula of Florida down to the Everglades, 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible in certain areas. Fort Myers can get a lot of rain all the way up to the Big Bend regions, okay? But it cuts off dramatically in North Florida due to this boundary, and then you get into some more stable air. The Northeast today, you're dealing with storms right now. You're dealing with severe weather, and really it's this area of storms that I just showed you what's happening on radar that will continue to kind of tail whip themselves throughout the southern New England region. Strong to severe storms are possible. The atmosphere will not have a whole lot of time to destabilize because this is moving throughout the morning hours. By the time you get to about lunchtime, I would argue it's going to move into like Boston before lunchtime. I mean, it's already in Connecticut right now. I don't think this is going to take 5-6 hours to make its way all the way to Boston. But, you know, I definitely still think it could be quite stormy in Vermont, Eastern Mass, Southeast Mass, Rhode Island. I mean, maybe even eastern areas of Connecticut as we get into early this afternoon could get, a pretty nasty line of storms that could develop and hit Boston a little bit later over the next few hours. This moves into Maine, where we could see some storm action, even a little bit of a tornado threat. Certainly possible. The Bangor region, the southern regions of Maine. This could move into the down east areas of Maine this afternoon, this evening, and just bring some kind of a very quick moving area of heavy rain, showers, and storms. Could hear rumble of thunder as far all the way up into northern Maine later this evening. And then behind this, you could just have a little bit of a flow that pulls in some downpours, maybe even a rumble of thunder, almost a little bit of a northwest flow that gets going here. So later this evening, if you're in New York State doing some evening activities around the Finger Lakes region, heck, maybe even all the way over to the Rochester, the Buffalo region, up to Watertown, you definitely could deal with some showers, maybe even a storm. And these shower activity could last all the way through the overnight hours, and then we could wake up to some light rain in the northern sections of New York State and Vermont. But a little bit closer look at southern New England today. This is happening right now. Like I said, these will, I think they're going to move a little bit quicker than this. I think they will be where they're showing right here, 12 p.m. I think they could be right here in the next few hours, 10, 11 a.m. So, if you live in Boston and you're tuning in, southern Vermont, eastern Mass, I think it could get quite stormy. You got some storms that are severe warned right now just off to your west. They will move towards you over the next few hours. So I definitely expect some storms around midday in this region. And then, like I said, these little pop-up activity could fly behind this main energy this morning. We could certainly see some rumbles of thunder, some little spits of heavy rain, if you will. The updraft Felicity swath, it really just picks up on this line this morning. But you see this elevated area north of Boston? Over the next few hours, we got to watch out for this area of storms right in here. You got to watch out for it. It's probably going to take a minute to come in. Like I said, we already showed this. You got to watch this. This is already ahead of time, way ahead of time, I might add. All right, so this is heading right towards Boston, and we'll be there over the next few hours, maybe even sooner. So definitely just need to watch out for that, guys, because we could get a tornado warning. I mean, by the time some of you folks watch this video, this threat could be over, but you see this little highlight areas. This indicates where we could have some rotating updrafts in this region. South Central U.S., not a whole lot to speak on as far as things falling from the sky. It's just the air. It's going to be very hot. We get into this afternoon. We get into this evening. We'll talk about all this here in a second. We get into the overnight hours. There's nothing. It's because you're being dominated by sinking air because you're under the influence of ridging. And that means you're just going to get hot, stagnant, flowless air, and it's just not going to be comfortable out there. Look at the temperatures for the South Central U.S. Dallas-Fort Worth is going to try to hit 110 today. Okay, I mean, San Antonio, Austin, well over 105. Air temperature. This isn't the heat index, folks. This is the air temperature. So you think it's been hot. It's going to be even a little bit hotter today compared to your brutally hot summer you've already experienced. Louisiana, the ridging is starting to affect you guys. Getting into southwest and southern Arkansas, even beginning to influence the weather in southern Mississippi. You know, if you live in extremely northern Mississippi, 80s, right? You head on down to Jackson, could hit 101 degrees a day. All right, 15-degree difference in a relatively small amount of area. Okay, you look all the way up into the high plains, guys. All right, you know, of eastern Colorado, western Kansas, and Nebraska, well over 100 degrees probably. All right, you see the boundary, right? You go from hundreds, 90s to 80s, even 70s once you get into Chicago. That is because you're under the influence of troughing in the eastern U.S. All right, so pretty wild stuff. We really need this heat to chill out, but unfortunately, it's going to continue to flex. Now, a totally opposite thing that we're seeing is in the north central U.S., the upper Midwest. It is chilly, especially in northeast Minnesota. Somebody might be in the upper 30s up here. Northern Wisconsin, 40s. UP and Michigan, let me know how y'all feeling up there. Steven, let me know how chilly it is. It looks like there's a definite chill in the air. Wisconsin, Michigan, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, waking up to the 40s and 50s. It's very pleasant out there. The atmosphere is cleared out. Enjoy it because the heat is really going to move into this region also over the next several days. How far north does it get? We'll try to figure that out here in time. But as far as weather for the north central U.S., nothing going on. Ridging is starting to build in. And there's just no energy flying between the upper portion of this ridge and this upper trough. And it's just quiet. Nothing weather-wise to really speak on. Some showers could fly in overnight into northern North Dakota. But outside of that, it's pretty quiet. Now, for the northern plains high temperatures, okay, the high plains really, Montana. Okay, if you're in eastern Montana, even central Montana, upper 90s, low 100s. All right, the western Dakotas is a lot hotter than the eastern Dakotas. All right, if you're in the western Dakotas, well over 100 degrees in certain areas, upper 90s, if not 100. You go into the eastern Dakotas, only 80s. It really shows the boundary between very hot air and just warm air. Okay, but you see through the high plains, just brutally hot temperatures. If you live in eastern Colorado, the further east you work, the hotter it gets. So really, really hot conditions in the high plains today. The western U.S. Certainly going to get, now you could get some storms up here in Montana. You know, don't want to rule that out. Some of these could be strong to severe. If you live in, I would say, central to especially western Montana, definitely watch out for some strong to severe storms. I would argue they're going to be more close to that southwest section of Montana. But, you know, certainly be aware of these showers and storm activity up here in Montana. Down here in the Four Corners region, it's going to be very showery, heavy rain kind of activity, stormy down here. And in fact, we'll actually zoom into this region and talk about this. This is already beginning. This isn't, like I said, this isn't really influenced from Hilary. This is just monsoonal energy. And this flow gets going. You basically got a flow sandwich between this upper level low off the coast of California and basically the western side of this ridge. So the flow is just moving up into this region. A lot of shower and storm activity for Arizona, even some severe weather possible for Arizona. Watch out around Las Vegas, southern Utah, areas of Colorado. I already mentioned Arizona. We could get some strong to severe storms down here in southern sections just south of Phoenix, even around the Phoenix area. And these continue into the overnight hours, and you continue to just get this moist flow, and then you can see what's creeping in. Kind of the northern edge of Hilary beginning to creep up Baja California as we get a moist fetch of that basically surges into the southwest. So rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. This isn't a lot, but this is going to do nothing but increase. But I can tell you, a half an inch of rain is a lot of rain for the desert Southwest. Okay, it's the desert, and not everybody's the desert. Okay, I want to reiterate that. There's a lot of microclimates everywhere out west, but you guys don't get a ton of rain. Okay, yearly when you look at things in a yearly aspect. So, a quarter inch to an inch of rain is a good bit of rain over a 24-hour period. That can cause flash flooding. That's why you got the slight risk up. So be careful. temperatures for everybody else, beautiful weather for most of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, the Northeast, even when you're getting affected by these storms. I mean, look at these temperatures, not bad at all. Southeast, typical summer type temperatures. The further west you work, under the influence of this ridge, brutally hot temperatures, well over 100 degrees. Once you get into Louisiana and Texas, move a little bit further west, and we've already talked about this, the high plains, very hot, very, very hot. Dry heat, but still hot. It's still hot. 100 degrees is 100 degrees. A little bit cooler up here in the Pacific Northwest, and then nothing really unusual for the Southwest at all. So, big breath. Let's talk about the tropics, and let's try to skim through this as quick as we can, but at the same time be as detailed as possible. As of right now, I want to let you guys know there'll be another update in about 30 minutes. In fact, maybe they dropped an early update, and they did not. So this is at 2 a.m. Eastern time. The next update is 8 a.m. So all these percent chances that I'm showing you could change. All right, but it doesn't change the fact of what I'm about to talk about. All right, you got what we call Invest 98L. As of now, the 2 a.m. update has a 70% chance to develop. Some of this could drop too. Okay, I could see 98L dropping as far as a chance to develop. 70% chance to develop in the next 7 days. Invest 99L, a 40% chance to develop in the next 7 days. And then you have a new area of interest, which hasn't been dubbed an invest, but a new one has a 20% risk to develop in the next 7 days. And then we're watching a dry tropical wave that we talked about over the last couple videos. This will try to emerge and basically combine with a surface boundary over the southeast and become convectively active. And this has a 30% chance to develop once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico within the next 7 days. Okay? This is as of right now. So let's talk about this. All right, let's talk about out here in the tropical Atlantic right now. We call this the tropical Atlantic, or the MDR, which stands for Main Development Region. Okay? So you got this, which I don't want to get my invest mixed up. This is 98L. So we got 98L here. You see a little bit of a spin behind this, and if you see these colors and you're like, Mitch, what does this mean? So once you get into these whites, things like that, and like these pinks and purples, that indicates cold cloud tops. That means that these cloud tops are getting way up in the atmosphere. Okay, that means you're getting explosive convection. Okay, and you see how it kind of explodes overnight and then it kind of dims out this morning? Well, watch to see with something we call diurnal maximum, which occurs in the morning. I'll go deep into that later on. No point in getting geeked out with that here right now. But it's basically a favorable period in the morning for tropical development to really enhance in convection. So there's a little bit of a spin. These low-level spin, you see it kind of turning under all this mid-level convection. That indicates that this is trying, okay? And then there's another area right into here, okay? You can barely see it. They look all kind of combined together, right? And then there's another area right down into here. So basically, just think of this as just one big blob of energy. So, my bad. I actually mixed up. This is 98L. This is 99L. So this is 98L. You see this broad area of convection. This is 99L. I hate I mixed that up. Wasted my time explaining that. So this is 99L. This is 98L. This is 99L. It's very confusing. There's a lot of convection out there in what we call the monsoon trough. Okay, and then this down here has not been dubbed an invest. 98L, 99L, just an area of interest right into here. So they're actually a little bit more separated than what we initially thought. So let's talk about each one is the best we can. So 98L right here, 98L is very broad. Okay, and if you're wondering what 98L means, it's basically a name that they name invest. Okay, it's called invest 98L. So this is a very broad piece of energy. It's a little bit further north in latitude, so therefore it's being affected a little bit more by this very dry air, which is indicated in the black. This means there's dry air in all levels of the atmosphere. Now 99L is a little bit further south in latitude, just further south in general. So yes, it's being affected on the northern end by this really dry air, but it's taken more of a southerly track, so it's not really fully just pressing right into this dry air. Now, it probably will try to. At the same time, you got just an area of interest right into here. Okay, so I can tell you, if you didn't have all this dry air up here, one of these I think would have a high chance to really get going. But you have a ton of dry air. So you move forward. What does model guidance show for this? So 98L, 99L. I can tell you 99L don't look really impressive. We'll skim through this pretty quick. Latest GFS. There's going to be a lot to really focus on here. Latest GFS develops this area of interest, or either 99L, pushes it into the Eastern Caribbean, which we call the graveyard of the Caribbean, because a lot of times you have what we call a TUT, or upper level low, that really slings a lot of shear into this region. 98L is chugging north because there's no real North Atlantic blocking to really keep these things in a far southern latitude and really move more so just east to west, right? So I think 98L is doomed, which is this one right here. I think this one's doomed. Yeah, it could develop, but I think this is heading way too far out into the North Atlantic, and it'll get fully involved in this dry air and just head out to sea. I just don't think it's going to really be a factor at all. Okay, so here it is. It might develop. Who knows? Maybe it develops into a tropical storm. Not sure. Okay, but we check out what's going on with this piece of energy, whether it's 99L or where it's that area of interest. None of that really matters too much. Okay, that's just dubbed names for whatever. All right, so this piece of energy starts to deliver a lot of squally weather based off the GFS as we get into early next week. Starts to affect, Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands, the northern areas of the Leeward Islands, the Lesser Antilles. Okay, this continues. What does this do? You think, oh, that's not good. It's starting to get north of these Caribbean islands. Is this going to try to strengthen as it gets a little bit closer to the southeast coastline? Well, there's a lot of shear right here. There's probably going to be some kind of TUT in place. So we get into about midway next week, and yeah, this finds a weakness in the pattern. It probably gets affected by upper level low that's going to affect the northeast. And we're only going to go 1 week out. And this thing is just struggling. So we go 1 week out from right now, and there's no real threats. Okay? No real threats at all. All right, so it looks like 98L really just fizzled out, kind of petered out. And we just are left over with this. All right, we look at the European. What does the European show? Well, the European is a little bit more aggressive, but the European is very weird. 98L, 99L, and some kind of area of interest right in here. Okay, you keep this going. Which one develops? I would argue that the area of interest is the one that really gets going. The one that has a 20% chance to develop. So it's something totally different. This is able, because it's weaker. It's not really influenced. It's not really influenced much by the upper level winds. Okay, so it can sneak into the it's into the Caribbean and try to do something funky in here. Now, 98L, like I said, it's getting blasted by this dry air. It's trying to move north. It's not really doing much. So, we can sit here and stare at this all day long, but I just don't think this it's going to do much. I really don't. That's my personal opinion. So we get into about Tuesday morning of next week. We got some kind of tropical energy flirting around in the central Caribbean. Okay. So what is this going to do? Well, it tries to get a little bit further north, and it begins to affect the Dominican Republic, Haiti, around midway next week. Whether this is invest 99L or just that area of interest, who knows? Like I said, who cares? That doesn't really matter too much right now, which one gets going. What matters is trying to figure out if we're going to get some kind of impacts from this. This impacts the Dominican Republic sometime midway next week as a pretty, basically a tropical depression, maybe low-end tropical storm. Gets north of the Greater Antilles, develops into probably a tropical storm late next week, and starts to kind of flirt with the Bahamas. But look what it does. It just kind of spins around in one location and never can get going. It literally sits in this one spot of the Southwest Atlantic for a few days. It gets trapped. But this is 1 week out, and this will change a million times. Okay, so that's what the two main global models are showing. Now, I can look at the ensembles until the cows come on. But I really don't think they got a good handle on it either. All right. So one thing I want to tell you guys is you see these blue, certainly the greens and yellows and the reds, but you see the blue, that is what we call shear. It's basically these upper level winds, 200 millibars up in the atmosphere, 30 to 40,000 feet above our heads. It's winds that high. Okay. once these tropical systems, and you can't see much into here, but once these tropical systems get involved with all this, they get blasted by shear. When these systems get blasted by shear, a lot of dry air can get involved into their circulation, and then they begin to weaken. Look at this massive ridge over the lower 48. It's hard to get not to get distracted by this, but this little feature right into here, this is what we call a TUT, upper level low. It's basically, it's between this and dry air. It's competing against all this higher sea surface temperatures you keep hearing about. Well, if you got this, ain't nothing going to get going out here. And sure enough, this is the GFS. It blasts this area. These tropical systems try to head into. See, these tropical systems are trying to do this, right? Okay, trying to do this, but you got this TUT feature that's really trying to come down, creating a lot of shear. So it ain't nothing gonna happen. So the shear tropical systems, they don't work together. So we keep moving, and I have no idea where we are. Let's keep going right here. We keep going. Another thing is, you see this wide open white space right in here. Typically, you got some kind of North Atlantic blocking up here, but you don't have any. So all the energy, which is down here, okay, you don't really see it because they're weak tropical systems. All right, it just has a free avenue to really turn north. So as far as any kind of threatening scenario, you don't have much. Now, because they're going to be weak initially, they could sneak into the Eastern Caribbean. A weaker storm is influenced more just by, how can I explain this the best way I can? A weaker storm is influenced more basically by the lower in the atmosphere steering currents. So basically steering currents only mile, 2 miles above our heads. They're influenced more by that than the steering currents further up in the atmosphere. A stronger tropical system, which has convection cloud tops that surge way further up in the atmosphere, is influenced more by steering currents further up in the atmosphere. So basically a stronger storm is going to try to turn north easier. A weaker storm is going to kind of just fart around out there, really just float around. Okay, so you keep this going, and I mean, you have an basically a trough digging down to the North Atlantic. This is a free avenue for any kind of tropical development that really gets going down here to just turn. Okay, now there's other things that can pull it, like maybe some kind of upper level low. This can help actually pull this way. So you see this little feature? There's a lot going on. Okay, a lot going on. There's so much more to it than there's going to be a tropical system that's going to impact the United States. I do want to mention this Gulf of Mexico kind of deal. This is a tropical wave that's going to emerge at the later part of the weekend into the Gulf of Mexico. You see this blob of green? That is a tropical wave. So when we get into Sunday morning, we could get this tropical wave to ride over the Gulf of Mexico. This is Monday morning. There's a big blob of moisture, showers, and storms right over the Gulf of Mexico. This could affect the Bayou of Louisiana as early as Monday morning. And a lot of model guidance has this cruising into Texas. And you see this L pop up? That means this thing is going to try to get going. I'm telling you, this could be a sneaky system. We've seen this time and time again off the coast of the Southeast and the Gulf of Mexico. These pieces of energy get into the Gulf of Mexico, and they end up materializing a lot more high end than what all model guidance shows. So I would watch this as we get into early to midway next week. If you're anywhere in the Gulf of Mexico, especially Texas, Mexico, and Louisiana, this thing will try to get going, but it could potentially bring a surge of moisture into Texas sometime early next week. Okay, we need to watch that. We'll get more detail on that when we can. So let's talk about Hilary. Hilary is a monster hurricane. I know this is like bang right up on your screen. Hilary is a Category 4, 145 mile per hour storm per the latest 3 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. I mean, this is as classic as you get, right? So this is out in the Eastern Caribbean, just off the shoreline, well off the shoreline of Mexico. And I mean, I think most people know hurricanes have eyes. You can see that eyes clear as day. I feel bad. I don't know what islands these are called right in here, but man, they are I don't know who lives out there. You guys, if you know, let me know. But there's a couple little islands out here that are just getting blasted or are going to get blasted by this. So I love this site. Nothing against the National Hurricane site, Cone of Uncertainty, but this is Zoom Earth. It goes by the same thing, and I think it's an awesome thing to look at. So obviously, this is the lower 48. This is Mexico. This is Baja California right in here. So right now, like I said, this thing has rapidly strengthened, 145 mile per hour hurricane, forecast to become a 150 mile per hour hurricane. This thing will flirt with Category 5 status, okay? And then it'll begin to weaken probably tonight sometime as it heads north, interacts with this upper level low, cooler sea surface temperatures, and then rapidly weakens just as quick as it rapidly strengthened. But right now, this thing is a monster hurricane. She is a major hurricane. We got tropical storm watches up for the southern areas of Baja California, but we got hurricane. I wish I could zoom into this. See, I know I can. Here we go. But these are, you see in the pink right here, these are hurricane watches up. I don't know why this isn't coming up. That kind of stinks. But basically, this pink right here is hurricane watches. Tropical storm watches right here in this yellowish color. Tropical storm warnings into this region. This actually might be hurricane. Hurricane warnings. Let's actually take a look at this. I think it's hurricane watches. I can tell you really quick right here. We're going to do this on the fly. And maybe this is why I should look at the National Hurricane Center. So, but hurricane watch. This is a hurricane watch. We'll go back to Zoom Earth really quick and just kind of look at it one more time. But hurricane watch for sure. But look at this. This is forecast to still be a Category 1 hurricane as it's beginning to really affect the northern sections of Baja California, but forecast to still be a 60 mile per hour tropical storm on Monday at 2 a.m. Just outside of LA, surging right into Southern California. I mean, this thing's still going to be a 30 mile per hour tropical low as it makes it all the way into into Oregon, into Idaho. So really, this is going to blast, especially the central and eastern part of this cone of uncertainty with a lot of rain. So we look at really quickly, we look at some model guidance. The GFS latest one, this is getting all the way to Monday morning. Sometime into overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning, makes landfall. This is a 995, sub 1,000 millibar low pressure, makes an actual landfall as a tropical storm somewhere around LA, give or take 100, 200 miles on either side of the shoreline. But this, I don't think there's been one that's made landfall in California since the 1930s. Okay, this could actually do it. Makes landfall, surges a ton of moisture up into the western U.S. Okay, we look at the European. Do the models agree now? Yes, they do. Okay, makes landfall as a little bit of a weaker system, but still makes landfall as a sub 1,000 millibar low pressure in and around the LA area. This is going to be wild. This could be potentially historic. Okay, and this makes landfall a little bit quicker. Okay, more so, this brings a lot of the worst weather a little bit earlier, more so into Sunday, as opposed to maybe Sunday night to Monday. Okay, surge of moisture inward, right? Okay, so this is from the National Weather Service, the Prediction Center. It's between now and the next 5 days. You have a high risk. That's as high as it gets. That means there's at least a 70% chance of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles in any given location in this pink area. Red area, same criteria, but a 40% risk. This includes Las Vegas. Okay, Los Angeles, you're in that 15% risk. This is going to fluctuate some. This could broaden, get bigger, extend further north. Flash flooding is a serious threat with this, guys. It really is. Okay, and if you look at the projected rainfall as of now, this will probably increase. This area in like the red and basically this area in the orange, that's anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rain in this area. That is not good for an area that does not see this amount of rain typically. This is basically between now and the next 5 days. So some of this rain could fall over the next couple days too. So a lot of rain. Los Angeles, 2 to 4 inches of rain, but this could increase, guys. Somebody's going to probably get over 10 inches of rain. One thing I've not mentioned is winds. Oof, I'm running out of time. But winds, it could be bad, okay? Look at this area of winds that begins to affect Southern Cal. You could have wind gusts up to 50 to 60 miles per hour that moves into Southern California. Now, this is just one run of the GFS, okay? This is one of many model runs. Sometimes this is going to overdo it. Sometimes it's right on. But look at these winds moving into Arizona, southwest Arizona. It could be quite breezy in like Phoenix. But you start to get into like overnight Sunday into Monday. This is right in the middle of the night, Sunday night. Look at these winds. 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts moving into Death Valley with rain falling. It's like a tropical storm over the desert. This is going to be wild to watch unfold. It really is. I mean, you don't associate a tropical storm with a desert, but this could be how it will be. It's just really just wild. It's going to be crazy to watch this unfold. It is, but it's going to be life-threatening. So this continues, and the winds actually increase. You just get this area of full-fledged tropical storm force conditions in Southern California. And this moves into Nevada. I mean, Monday morning, you got an area of very high winds, wind-driven rain moving into Nevada. So this is going to be potentially a historic event, guys. And we're going to get more detailed about this in the coming videos. We're going to keep it going all weekend. But that's all I got, guys. I really hope that helped you folks. God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.